Hello everyone, this is Lye Yosh. Welcome back to Life Study Library. Today I have good news for people who have anxiety, people who are struggling with ruminating worries or regrets, anything of that nature that's enabling you from finding a good job or succeeding in your dream career. Many people might go through the thought of, because I constantly worry and think about any possible failures, I can't seem to do an excellent job in my career. I wish I could be like that other person who's always confident in their work and who seems to be able to not let worries get in their way. And to these people today, I brought you a scientific study that might suggest that there are certain types of jobs that you might succeed because of your anxious personality. And before I talk about this specific study, first of all, while many personality disorders are seen by society as a disadvantage or a flawed trait or something like that, some of them can be put into good use that can produce an insane amount of benefit. Like take ADHD for example. A lot of people assume that ADHD is about not being able to sit still or being fidgety, easily getting distracted due to the lack of concentration, things like this, because ADHD is not about being unable to focus, but it's about being able to tremendously focus in very specific areas. And coincidentally, the specific area or the part that people with ADHD are not able to focus on are stuff that the society has determined as normal behaviors. And the statement that people with ADHD are incapable or flawed cannot be any more mistaken because what's actually going on is that these people live on a whole different level from regular people. They're only there because of social or economic situations, and they're actually going easy against regular people. But when the battlefield changes to their environment where they can actually focus, they are virtually unbeatable by everyone else. This sort of mindset change also applies to people with generalized anxiety disorder, or GAD for short. People who excessively worry are struggling because you are basically fighting a bunch of sharks underwater. There's no way you can win, but once you pull them out of the water, you are in a tremendous advantage. Okay, so when you think about how to make use of your generalized anxiety disorder, or GAD, you gotta think about IQ. Specifically, you gotta split the notion of IQ into two categories. And these categories are performance IQ and verbal IQ. And it's important to know which categories of IQ you fall under when you're choosing your ideal type of career. So people with GAD will suffer if they try to do things that regular people can do. Outliers have trouble fitting in for a reason. So they have to be in an environment suited specifically for them. What I'm saying is that people with GAD, people who excessively and consistently worry and think that they can't do their job because of their constant worrying, all these people have to do is to perform at a job that requires you to worry and be cautious. And in order for you to determine the pond that was prepared specifically for you, we're going to need to explain the two different types of IQ. Likewise, in this channel, I'm going to be talking about these interesting scientific and psychological information by implementing data from scientific studies. So if you're interested in watching this video and want to watch more of my past and my future content, then make sure to subscribe to my channel. If you can do that, that would be a big support for me, and I appreciate it very much. Now let's continue on with the video. So let's first talk about the two different IQ types. So we're going to start out with verbal IQ. So verbal IQ is basically verbal intellectual ability, the ability to store information, analyze, and reason. People who are high in verbal IQ are highly capable of problem solving and abstract thinking. And I'm just going to give you the answer right away. This is where people with GAD shine, because the mindset of, I'm not confident in myself because of my regret from the past, and I'm worried about my future, means that you're able to store up past memories in great detail, and analyze and predict a possible outcome that can happen in the future. It basically means that, and of course with training and practice, it basically means that you might be excellent in information analyzing tasks, which is like the brain of the company or the team. In contrast, performance IQ is associated with nonverbal skills. So this is the ability of being able to read nonverbal cues like facial expression, hand gestures, and other environmental hints. And this is where the so-called extroverts and optimists shine because they get their information from the present environment. These people excel as the field workers, communicating with other people and collecting information from the present social interaction. And because they excel at analyzing the present, they're not very well suited for collecting information from the past, or analyzing what worked and what didn't, or predicting future possibilities and coming up with a plan. Extroverts and optimists are not very capable of this task compared to introverts or pessimists, or people with GAD. And that's like the same reason why these extroverts and optimists do not really remember the past mistakes, which makes them generally optimistic about the future and not fear failure, which is good in its own way, but that's not the point. And with that, I'm going to talk about a story with evidence. So today's study is done at Lakehead University, which gathered a total of 126 samples. And their objective was to examine the relationship between generalized anxiety disorder, GAD, which includes symptoms like depression and social anxiety. They wanted to see how it related with verbal and performance intelligence. After making the samples complete multiple questionnaires, including verbal comprehension and GAD surveys, the research came to a conclusion that GAD symptoms, including ruminations and worry, correlated positively with verbal intelligence. So this means that the people who scored high on the verbal category of intelligence tend to have the ability to analyze and understand past and future events. It means that they are intellectually pessimistic. You got option A and B, and you analyze and think, which one should I take? What if I'm missing something? Or like a hidden opportunity. I failed because I chose option B before, but what if my situation changed and now option B is the right one? Wait, what if there's option C? People with symptoms of excessive rumination and worry might be able to attain the ability to consider past and future information with great detail in exchange for the cost of being pessimistic, but technically in a good way. One note is that rumination in this case should not be mistaken with regrets. People who only kick themselves and complain how stupid they are for the mistakes they've done in the past, these characteristics did not correlate with high verbal intelligence. You're not going to be intelligent, in this case, make intelligent choices for only being pessimistic. And like I said before, you need practice to know how to make use of your disorder. In contrast, individuals who scored high on nonverbal intelligence are able to focus on the moment and consider the nonverbal signs that the environment casts. These people are your salesperson, or a conference lecturer, or any of the careers that requires you to be an extrovert. Okay, so the point of all this is that for those of you who are overly pessimistic, who constantly worries about stuff, who gets scolded by others for not having more confidence, yeah, don't work as a salesperson, because you're gonna die. You gotta first accept that you're an outlier, and outliers can't compete in the same field as the majority. You'll never win against the born extroverts and optimists. However, in this convenient age of the internet, there are plenty of areas in the career field that you can wiggle through and use your intellectual pessimism as a weapon. Not only that, because of your ability to analyze past and future events, intellectual pessimism might actually have a higher chance of becoming the brain of the firm, like I said before, or the information analyst, or the company advisor, a key figure that's essential to the survival of the group. With a slight training and adjustment, people with symptoms of rumination and worry might have a better chance of being at a higher place in the group, more than the extroverts or the mere soldiers. If you haven't already noticed, I'm highly biased towards introverts and pessimists, but I'll make it an even field for you extroverts and optimists. So one key characteristic of extrovert is that they are literally extroverted and tend to be open to new experiences more than introverts. So you're basically more curious when compared with introverts. So you might be able to intentionally attain only the helpful characteristics of introverts and traits of people with GAD. This means that these salespeople and the conference lecturers might be extroverted enough to attain the cautious nature, but not the part about being, consistently worried about everything, but be able to hold on to their plans for a second, calmly analyze any possibilities that might occur, and reflect on it, better than if they were to remain in their natural tendency to be, hot-headed. No offense from an introvert, but so, rather than tackle it head on, but by attaining the nature to be more cautious and be more intellectually pessimistic, which are things that people with GAD already might have, but also with the big disadvantage, of course. And with training, these extroverts might be able to notice a small crack in their plan and fill it up quickly and calmly, which makes it a better result. This study didn't specifically say all this stuff, but the tendency to be intellectually pessimistic can be put into good use by both introverts and extroverts. Likewise, these seemingly disadvantageous personality traits, or personality disorders to some extent, can be intentionally reversed and made into an advantage. Rather than dreading your tragic trait or personality disorders or anything beyond, rather than saying, oh, I'm the only international student in this class so I can't fit in, or everyone who works here knew each other for a long time, but I'm the only newbie so I feel separated. You have to realize that to the majority, to everyone else, you can become such an interesting being because you're so different from everyone else. If you're struggling with making friends, you can change your mindset and think, I'm the type of person who choose friends wisely so that I don't have to waste time with anyone I'm not interested in. And that's why I don't have a lot of friends. You can think it like this. But again, I want to mention that not all personality traits or personality disorders can work like this. For example, narcissism seems like it's giving you a boost of confidence, but by measuring the damage you might cause to others, I feel like it has more negatives than positives. Now, I'm not the greatest expert in narcissism, but you get my point. Change your mindset about yourself, think of your disability or disadvantage from a new angle, and even be a little defiant about those traits. And you can find careers that were made for you. And with that, I've talked about the ideal job options for people with generalized anxiety disorder, GAD, and also for people who are just anxious in general. and I'm going to talk about the science of mindset extensively in the future video. So if you want to know more about this topic, or if you want to simply watch my other videos, then please subscribe to my channel so that you can watch my past and future content and support me at the same time. This has been Life Study Library, hosted by me, Lye Yosh. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my other videos. Bye now.